Wrapping up a busy week in Sunsland with Aaron Edwards, our weekly check-in. We'll talk All-Star, we'll talk John Morant, we'll talk Jazz games. We'll see what we get into coming up right away for you on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a contributor at Suns.com, as well as Dime Magazine, and a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 5 seasons. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen each and every day. We're closing out, as I said, a pretty busy week, a little bit uneventful when it all was said and done with Utah, but all caps NBA writer Aaron Edwards is joining us. Aaron, how are you? You're coming to us from LA, and I want to hear how the travel went. And I have to question one thing before we get started, which is that you fly to LA.
Yeah, it's just like easier just doing that and renting a car and picking it up next to the airport. It's just like so much easier. And
I didn't realize the amount of luxury that I was co-hosting the show with once a week. I have flown to LA, I think, one time in my life, but I drive.
I like getting here early, and my flight's always at 6 a.m. So it's just easier to make the trip that way. And then just getting my car, and I'm all settled in by 8. Like, I like my trips to start early.
That's fair. No, I think you can find such a cheap flight at this point. It makes it worth it too. I knew this girl who she had family in Long Beach, and she would rent a car to drive because she didn't want to put the mileage on her own vehicle.
Yeah, I'm not that fancy.
that was the crazy. And she was not like rolling in money. Like, I worked with her at Starbucks. Like, we were both making like, hourly wages. That was not that point in my life where I knew people who would have been having a ton of money like that. And yeah, she was like, no, I'm not going to, I have like a recently purchased car. I'm not going to put like, 1,000 miles on it going back and forth a couple times a month. I'm like, okay, you do you. But let's hit what just happened here it didn't end up being really the world of the Suns because they were not involved. But just before we hit record here, the All-Star starters have been unveiled. We don't need to hit on it too much more. We've talked about Book and Chris and whether or not they were going to get it on the starting lineup. We both said they'll probably get there as reserves. But the thing that I thought about watching the results come in, and I don't think we've touched on it a lot. We've talked about this player before, but why is John Morant so much more popular than Devin Booker? How has that already happened? He just leapfrogged Devin Booker, and he's just getting these votes like he's playing in New York. He's playing in freaking Memphis. How did he just do this?
It's the shiny new thing kind of thing. And he's still super young, and he does really cool stuff every once in a while. So I just think like the fact that, like I told you, like just because they're new, people are just going to hype them up. Like they're the us from last year, but not that good. And I just think like people love point guards more. And when Book was scoring all those points and going off on bad to average teams, like we were historically bad. And I think Ja is still probably going to make the playoffs this year. So I just think like the fact that he's winning a lot more, and I mean, the numbers may not be as good. I mean, Booker was putting up crazy numbers, and we were probably winning our 4th, 5th game of the year in like February.
When they showed that number against Utah the other night on ESPN, and it was like Devin Booker scored 59 points in this building, and I'm like, yeah, and every Suns fan remembers that as the Jimmer Fredette game where he would not give Booker the ball and actually prevented him from getting 60. So those are our memories of Book like breaking out, or just like nightmares more like.
Yeah, like it's not like Book going off was never like ESPN highlights. It was just, oh, Book went off today. Like, oh, Suns lost by 30 kind of thing. And I just think that's why, like, Ja started winning a little bit earlier. His team was younger and better. Like, Book never had a team this good when he was this young. So I just think that's part of it.
I think that, so setting aside the John Morant thing, because I feel like we end up talking about him every week for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it, like, why do you think Booker has not eclipsed that level? Because I've seen a lot of chatter about that recently from the perspective of the Suns, and it seems like every time I get asked to do an interview on like one of our network's national shows or whatever, it's like, why is everybody underestimating the Suns? Which is a funny question for me to answer because I talk about them once a day. I don't underestimate them, but that seems to still be the narrative. And like, is it Phoenix? Is it his style? Like, he is an old-fashioned type of player on the court. Like, the guy should make every, Gen X basketball fan in absolute heaven. He dates one of the most famous people on the planet. He has like the coolest style and like the most unique, whatever you want. I don't even put a name on whatever it is, how he dresses, how he handles himself, the cars, all of it.
Yeah.
And yet, like, he can't even like, all-star votes are just like one stand-in for it. But whatever way you want to classify it, like, this dude should be that. Why is he not? I don't understand it.
I think CP3 said it last year. It was like Booker's like a 50-year-old in a 20-year-old's body. And I just think like the way he carries himself was always so mature that he like never seemed young like the whole time he was here. Like he was never like just in the scene in Phoenix and just being like this young, like acting, exciting player. He always just seemed like an old man just hooping. And he would just never really wanted the spotlight the way some other people wanted it. And like, it's not even being a homer thing. He just doesn't seem like he wanted to be that person. He just wanted to hoop and win games. And now that he finally is, I think he said yesterday, he was like, I don't really care about all-star votes anymore. Like, I want to do something bigger. And I believe him. Like, he just never really seemed like he cared about stuff like that.
I think you're right, though. You hit on something that I think affected it, which is that he took a lot of those lumps, like, when no one was paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, he's fighting Gorgie Jang and he's like scoring 60 and whatever when people weren't watching. So some of those moments that we all like kind of know, like, I mean, I don't know, Trae Young kind of doing his first playoff thing, right? It's like he has the ups and downs. He's in it with Atlanta. Are they going to, wow, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, Book did all that on a losing team. Then by the time that Chris got here, Book's been telling us since the day that they traded for Chris, it's like, yeah, we're just here to win at this point. Like, I did all the other stuff, you know what I mean? And like, I think that was a big part of it. And Phoenix is like a decent market, but it's not huge. So I guess that explains it. And he probably just doesn't want that stuff. But how do you say you don't want that stuff and then you date a Kardashian family member?
But like, he's not like front and center with her either. Like they have the most
low key of them too.
They have like the most low key relationship out of everybody. And I just think like, if it was like a whole TV show and spotlight kind of thing, they would have never made it. I think like Book just always wanted to just like have like a low key thing. And the fact that she was able to do it is even crazier, honestly.
Yeah, the idea that they can be low key is what's crazy.
But he's like from Michigan. Like, Michigan people are pretty low key. And
that's fair.
Yeah, and it just seems like he just likes to keep it pretty chill.
Yeah, it's cool though, because it's like then the moments come up where like he's on that NBA street, NBA lane, whatever that commercial was before the season, promoting the start of the year or whatever. I think it might have been for Christmas with the Kobe mural and all that. Yeah. He has little moments like that, and it's like Suns fans kind of just get that like nod from the league. They're like, we know, like, the people who really watch, like the creatives, the marketing people, whoever it is, like they realize there's something cool there. The Suns obviously know, like, we kind of have it here and we get to keep it to ourselves, which is cool in its own way. But I do think on days like this, Suns fans are probably sitting at home like, what the hell do we have to do to just get some like acclaim in this city? But I mean, the championship will do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's pivot to Utah. Let's talk about some observations from that doubleheader. I don't know how much there will be, and then we'll talk about Eric Gordon. He is seemingly all that Suns Twitter wants to talk about right now, including actually Rockets Twitter, and I was attacked. So we'll talk about what happened there. First, though, BetOnline wishing you a happy new betting year here in 2022 as we continue our march through the football playoffs and into the NBA stretch run. BetOnline remains the #1 spot to place a bet on any sport in the new year. They also are celebrating that new year with an updated desktop and mobile app. So head to betonline.ag or download their app. Make an account, and when you do, use the promo code LOCKEDON when you make your first deposit to get a 50% welcome bonus straight to your account. That's promo code LOCKEDON when you make your first deposit to get a 50% welcome bonus at BetOnline. From football and basketball, even to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available in the new year at BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, these games, Aaron, did not give us a lot to talk about in terms of pure basketball. They did not end up having a lot to do with whatever we might see in a playoff series between the Suns and the Jazz. Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell missed both games. A lot of the guys around them missed the first game, but played in the second game that was in Salt Lake City. What did you come away from those games thinking? Did they change anything about how you feel about this matchup or this Suns team at all?
No, I feel like we just beat them the same way we usually do. Like, it just seemed like pretty handily, and we kind of always got what we wanted. If we made the shots, I really just thought it would have stayed a blowout. But I just think like we've always kind of just gotten what we wanted against them. And their best player, well, second best player, however you want to put it, didn't play, Donovan Mitchell. But I just think like even he's just a liability on defense. And I think Jordan Clarkson was just out there really trying. Like, he was trying yesterday. Crazy. Yeah, and I just think like Donovan Mitchell, he's gotten somewhat of good games against us, but I just don't think they match up well. And without Ayton, and I don't think they even played the new Ayton yet. Like, since the playoffs, like, he's just a completely different person, and all of the stuff that were knocks against him, he's kind of fixed. And I just think like since we last played Utah full strength against their full strength, I just don't think they've seen the Ayton that we have now.
Yeah, it was kind of like he was starting to get there at the tail end of last season. They played the Jazz, I think, twice in the last few weeks of the regular season last year. And he was kind of like building into that guy. I think he was getting ready, mentally for the playoffs and started to turn up that intensity. I'm sure people remember they played the Clippers around that same time too. And Ayton looked really good in all those games. But yeah, they haven't played this year, and these two games didn't really teach us a whole lot. I think they play one more time toward the very end of the year, so I guess maybe there's a hope that will look a little bit more like what the Suns and Jazz both actually want to be in the playoffs, just to have something on film. But I think you're right, like those games have never really been that scary for Suns fans, and I think that they've won 5 straight against Utah. Basically, since they traded for Chris Paul, they have not lost to Utah.
Yeah, we had the overtime, I think. Did we lose that one? I can't remember, but that was like the only one, and even that was an overtime game, and it could have swung either way. So,
yeah, you're completely right. That I think that was the first one. I think they played each other 3 times each year, so that was the first Utah game last season that they did lose. But the main thing, I think, a couple things to get to. One is a little bigger picture than just these Jazz games, and we can hit that in a second. But I don't think enough was made about the fact that these games were very hyped going into it. And yes, like Utah's losing some ground. Maybe the second seed's just not something that they're really like setting their sights on at this point. But it's pretty incredible to just bench your whole entire team basically against a Western Conference rival in a game that like was very much like circled on the calendar heading into it. Like, this game is a clash. The 2 top teams in the West besides the Warriors. Let's see what happens, blah, blah, blah. And the Warriors are like, or the Jazz basically just said, no, thank you. Like, I don't know. We talk about how corny they are. This is another team we talk about a lot for some reason, but my goodness, like they really just did that.
Yeah, I think they kind of just conceded. Like, they were short strength and they still put up a fight. But I just think they tried to do their best to like concede the W or concede the L, and they still put up a decent fight. But the second game, it just didn't. It seemed like the Suns took it more serious than the first one. I think they even went out. They're like, none of their dudes are playing. Like, we don't really have to play that hard. And I just think that's why they were in that position in the first game. This game, I really like. It seemed like they really tried to get them out of the way early, but I think once Booker sat down in the second quarter for a very long time, the lead kind of just went away. So I just don't think, like, just matchup wise, I just don't see them as an issue. And yeah, they're very corny, and their fans and their reporters on Twitter were they hate Book for some reason, and it's hilarious because, like, I know we like our guy and they like theirs, but I just don't think it's even an argument at this point. And it seems like they're finally starting to get it. So they put up one last ditch effort fight this week with the whole competition, but they're finally going to have to admit what we've been saying for like the last 2-3 years.
It's I actually was one of the last guys to come around on it, to be honest with you, because I think it's actually similar to what we're talking about with Ja, where when guys get the opportunity to prove it to you on a bigger stage early, I think I do this. I'm sure a lot of people do this, where you just puff them up because you've seen it. And it's like, okay, I mean, I just saw this guy do it in the playoffs. I haven't seen this guy do it. So what am I supposed to do with that? And I mean, it was funny, actually ended up that was against Chris Paul, that first Jazz playoff team where they went toe-to-toe. I think it was in the first round with the Rockets back when Chris was still there. And Donovan played really, really good as a scorer. Like I for a long time didn't want to necessarily like take that away from him. But now that we've seen Book in those spots, he scored 40 points in the NBA Finals. He scored God knows how many in the first few rounds as well. He had the knockout game against the Lakers. He had game 1 against the Clippers with the triple-double. Like he padded his entire playoff resume quicker than Donovan has done, getting like 3 times as many opportunities to do it. So I don't get it anymore at this point. And I don't know. I just think this team does everything they possibly can to make people make fun of them. I don't know what it is. Like, just pick it up. I don't know. I just come away from these and I'm like, I want to take them seriously. I want to like make that rivalry a thing because that's fun, but I don't know. I can't get there.
And just Utah in general, like they got just beat by Jordan too. So when we were kids, it was easy to make fun of them. So it's always been easy to make fun of them. Yeah.
What's going on right there? I don't exactly know. He's talking about athletes who have passed away from the vaccine, which is just something that hasn't happened. Just straight up hasn't happened. So
that was a very fun segment on All Caps this week. And I just don't, they just make it so easy that we'll keep doing it till the end of time if they want us to.
I honestly hope, I think I said that I hope that they play because it'll just be memes and fun, and Suns in 4 will be back in full force. We'll just be bringing that hashtag back. Everybody will pull their shirts back out, and we can skip over the Karl Malone stuff, but there's just like so much. There is so much. You can
skip over the Karl Malone stuff. I'm never skipping over the Karl Malone stuff.
I'll skip over it on air. How about I put it? I'll put it that way. All right, let's hit this Eric Gordon thing because people seem really fired up and seem really excited about getting Gordon. I am as well. Like I want to start there, but we'll get into all of it. Whether they should trade for him, what it would cost, how much of a difference he would actually make in depth here. First, though, it's the new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure to include Built Bar in that plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes even better than a candy bar, and they are look, you might feel like they're just saying that, but they have actually done blind taste tests with people where they will put a blindfold over them, tell them, taste this, taste that. One of them will be the candy bar equivalent of whatever flavor. One of them will be a Built Bar. People genuinely like it. People genuinely like it more, and I can vouch for it as well. It is delicious. They're covered in 100% chocolate. They're soft. They're actually easy to just chew. They really come out like a candy bar in your mouth, too. It's not like protein bars can be chalky, bricky, whatever. People hate them for that reason. Built Bar solved that problem as well. So this new year, as we head into 2022, go to all your secret treat stashes, home, pantry, office, car, whatever it might be. Throw all the sugary, calorie-filled treats away. Replace them with Built Bar so that when you're craving that snack, you can reach for that Built Bar instead, and you don't have to worry. It's covered. It's packed with protein, low on carbs, low on sugar, low on calories. It's exactly what you need. Power up in the afternoon, maybe before, after a workout. It's delicious. I completely would not be telling you about this every single day like I do if I did not love them. And they're part of my New Year plan as well. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your next order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Today was a slow day for me at work, and I logged on to Twitter.com, posted something about how I would not give up a first-round pick for Eric Gordon. Not only did Suns Twitter come at me, ratio me into oblivion, but Rockets Twitter did so as well. I don't have the Twitter touch that you do, Aaron, and it did not go well for me. So where do you stand on this? Because I think, as happens online when we try to talk about things, people took stuff a little bit out of proportion and out of context. And I was not saying I don't think Eric Gordon would make this team better. The point is, do they have a better option? And what should they actually give up? And that's where I think it gets a little bit more interesting. Because, of course, Eric Gordon's a great player. Like, nobody would. It would be stupid to say anything but that. My question is, we're a long way into the season now. Do you feel like he is a guy who would make enough of a difference that you're willing to say, yes, whatever it takes to get this guy, I'm going to do it?
I was kind of impartial about it, but every single time I get stuck seeing Elfrid Payton play a lot of minutes, it makes me think that he would absolutely help this team with those minutes that Booker has to sit down. And Landry Shamet still hasn't been playing the way he should be. And I just think Eric Gordon, but at the same time, if we can give up just a little bit more and get Reggie Jackson, I think we should try to do something like the same. I just think if we want to go that route, then we can go younger and a little more athletic if we're really going to go for it. So I just think just an injury prone, kind of thick dude that would help the team. I just think if we can go a little bit better and younger, then I'd rather do that instead.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson's interesting. I didn't even think that. The Clippers are interesting in general because you've heard both sides of it, where there's stuff saying that they will be sellers and try to at least just shuffle the deck a little bit if both of their stars aren't going to be coming back. But there's also obviously, if they have any chance of being ready for the postseason, Kawhi and PG, then you don't sell, obviously. Yeah. So it's hard to tell, but Reggie would be awesome. I mean, he has really turned into a pretty nice kind of combo guard who he just doesn't make the same type of mistakes and inefficiencies that he used to have in his game in Detroit and whatnot. So yeah, he'd be exciting to me. I think though, to give some people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm by no means married to my own opinion here, because I started some Rockets people who actually were, trying to talk to me about it because they really love Eric Gordon. I came to find that out. They are in love with the dude from his days in those Harden era years in the playoffs. They were like, no, he actually kind of could replace some of what Cam Payne is doing. And because my whole thing was if Gordon is not going to break into the actual, you are in a game 7, Giannis is about to put 50 on you, who are you playing moment again. Can Gordon actually break into that? Is he going to be somebody who would actually see the floor for a significant amount of time in a game like that? And my thought was no, because he doesn't do stuff that they need to an extent that he would pass up Cam Johnson or Cam Payne in a rotation like that. But then, a lot of their guys were saying no, he really can kind of be a point guard. He could be out there with Booker, or he could be out there with Chris and provide enough playmaking to actually make it worth it. So that kind of, interested me, because that sounds a little bit like what Reggie would do.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing I come back to is he's 33. He might look really great in Houston right now. And he's, people are trying to tell me he's having a career best season. And it's it's really hard to imagine the translation from what he's doing on an awful team to being right back into the playoffs. It's just been a while since we've seen that. And that's just hard for me to put my full support and give up a bunch of stuff to go get a guy like that just because we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be the perfect time to do it. Our first rounders are not going to be great for the next couple of years. So I just think if you have to give up one now's the time to do it instead of next year or the year after. So I just think that would just be capital-wise, that would be good. But I just think he's a good stop the bleeding player. We have long stints where we don't get to the line. That happened in the playoffs too. And I just think long stints where we don't score sometimes and we go kind of cold. And Cam Payne kind of doesn't help. The Cam Payne Landry Shamet lineup doesn't really help that sometimes. And I just think a dude that has a big body that can get to the line and who's a pretty good three-point shooter will help in the playoffs when we've gone pretty cold and Booker needs a rest.
I agree. I mean, that's obviously the number one thing. And I told the argument that I was hearing that made the most sense from Suns fans is you can't trust Shamet at all right now. Yeah. I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know what it is. He doesn't seem to be super comfortable. That has been a thing that's happened with him everywhere. So unfortunately, it might just be the reality. And then Payne, he's not playing the way that he played in the playoffs last year right now whatsoever. So it's kind of just like, do you just have the confidence that he can return to form, or do you think you got to go improve on that spot or at least have another option? But you brought up something interesting too that I was hearing from people in my mentions too, which was the injury thing. Like, how much is it worth it to go get somebody just because you worry that Chris might get hurt again, or that Book maybe like game 3 of the finals, if you have Eric Gordon, you don't play Book. Monty has said we shouldn't have played Book in that game. Maybe if you have a guy like Gordon, you don't do that. You don't have to do that anymore, and you're a little bit more insulated from injuries. I don't know if that's worth it, though. That's another thing where I'm like, is that worth a first-round pick? Is that worth a player? I don't know.
Yeah, I think if they really believe that they can take those 1 or 2 away games in the finals with Eric Gordon, like, he could help in just like a clutch moment, because that was pretty much we had 2 of those games, and I just think once our best players had to sit, and Drew Holiday was just killing Book. Like, you just need another body and he was exhausted from having to play defense. Like, he was playing both ends. And I just think after seeing something like that, if you can just get a bigger body out there, and hopefully like the injury stuff does hold up. Bonnie's always been pretty good with the minutes thing. And I just think, like, if you can just give Book like those little breaks, especially from the grind of CB3, like, especially him. He missed like 4 games during that entire playoff run. Yeah. And I just think, and he probably should have missed more because he couldn't use his hand. He couldn't use his arm. And I just think, like, with just a player like him, I just think, even if it's not Eric Gordon, we do need a secondary scorer and facilitator that can just help out because Chris Paul's 37, 36. I just think we do need like a youngish facilitator and scorer off the bench just to give those guys a breather, because they showed that it was like a grind of a playoff.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, it was. And if you think about how different things would look if you don't get the version of Payne that you got. Yeah. Like, I mean, in the Clippers series, he was huge when Paul had to go out, and I mean, he wasn't great in the finals. Like, we already kind of saw what it looks like when Payne is not himself, and they lost that series. So I think that argument definitely, makes sense to me. And like, at the end of the day, like, if Gordon really is a dude who can come in and be a playmaker, more of like a point guard, combo guard type of guy, rather than just sort of a shooter and driver and a maybe on defense, then I think I feel better about that. So if the Rockets people who are telling me that are right, then like, I might be all in for it. I get it. And like, at the end of the day, if that's the best option available to you, then yeah, trade a first-round pick. My thing is not about keeping the picks. My thing is just make the best deal that's out there. And I don't know if it's Gordon, but maybe it is. I don't think like Jackson would be better. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a player who becomes available who's better. So, I think that's kind of where I come down, and it'll be interesting to see the next few days. But I have a question for you before we close out. We're not going to do a full Twitter deep dive. We don't have enough time for that at this point. But you came upon a certain amount of fame this weekend or this past week since we last talked. You were on Instagram being aggregated or whatever. You were like, I'm looking now, 67,000 likes, 8,000 retweets. My girlfriend doesn't understand that I don't want to Euro step and slap the door frame. I have to. I just want to hear, I mean, as a person who I'm pretty sure is significantly shorter than you, I don't necessarily feel the tapping of the door, but what I do want to understand better is what it's like to become famous. How does it feel? You're flying to LA, you're celebrating in style already. How does it all feel?
Going viral is a nightmare, first of all, on your phone. And so the whole thing, it's happened before, but like, it's really just a mess the entire time. Especially like, you go to sleep and you can kind of tell like when somebody that's pretty big, that's kind of like a friend of a friend retweets it, and then it's just like,
right away,
this is gonna be a mess. And I kind of like just woke up and I was like, all right, I didn't know this was gonna be it.
How long do you wait before you turn off notifications on the?
I turned it off that morning.
Okay. You didn't just like bask in it for a little while?
Because like I work out in the morning and like it's hard, like my phone starts dying and it's hard to get through music and it's just like a whole thing. And I know just to get that part out of the way immediately, so I just mute it and I'll check every once in a while.
It really it like slows your phone down. Like the stuff that's not even on the Twitter app will go slow. I don't even get how that all happens.
Yeah, so I try to mute everything immediately.
I like how you casually dropped in the "it's happened before" part too. I like that. It's regular for you. I understand.
And I think like once a year. I'll leave it. Hopefully, it's once every other year. I try to just be completely ridiculous to where people don't want their work to see their stuff or my stuff anymore. So it doesn't happen that often anymore.
No, but what's funny is we got verified as a network. Like they went, because we got bought out by a bigger company, so they have the resources to go out and do that type of thing. So we all the hosts who had been there for a certain amount of time, we all got verified like sometime last year. And it's weird how when you get verified, I think there's something where Twitter selects those accounts to like mine through when they're doing a moment or one of those like like when something's trending and the tweets that they choose to put in there. And so if I tweet about something like obviously when the Suns were in the finals or like some news things happens in sports, I can tell because people who don't even have any like they're not finding it from a connection. It's not like a retweet and then they like people who don't even care like some other country and they'll just retweet it like 5 minutes after I post it and I'm like, okay, something is definitely going on and it's just since I've been verified. So I can kind of connect with you. That's what it's like for us down here, but you up there, it's a little different. You got to turn it off. I understand. It's getting in the way of your workout. I get it, but no, it was funny. I was like, you started sharing it on your Instagram story and stuff. I'm like, damn, I've never been at that level where it's switching social media platforms.
Yeah, I think like sometimes it goes to Reddit, and that's when like some people will send it to me, and they'll be like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And so I'll know it's big when random people are like from high school or like, "Yo, have you seen this?" I'm like, "We haven't talked since like 2008. What is this?"
Yeah, for sure. All right, we might dip back into the actual defend your tweets segment next week. We'll see what happens. We'll actually be really close to the deadline by then, so who knows, we might get a trade. But that'll do it for the week, guys. You can check his workout at All Caps NBA on the Take Line YouTube channel with Jason Concepcion. Great work. They talked about John Stockton, so if you want to laugh at the Jazz even more, then head over there. I'll be back with you guys on Monday recapping a couple of games, Minnesota and San Antonio coming to Phoenix over the weekend. So stay tuned and enjoy your weekend.